Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Right off the bat, make sure you've got those subtitles turned on. You definitely don't want to miss some of the wild data points we're going to cover today. We have a seriously fascinating topic lined up. Just imagine a tiny, mist-covered region tucked away in these steep, remote hills, rapidly transforming into a total powerhouse for world-class premium Arabica coffee. It's this profound, almost magical story of agriculture, economics, and ecology all blending together. Okay, so let's dive right in with a bit of a teaser. Think about your morning cup of coffee for a second. When you think of rich aromas, high price tags, and premium single origin roasts, your mind probably jumps straight to, say, Colombia or Ethiopia, right? Well, the world's next big disruptor in the premium coffee space is actually emerging from the mist-covered hills of Nagaland in northeast India. And let me tell you, they are rapidly building a global specialty coffee brand that is absolutely catching the attention of connoisseurs all over the world. Here's our quick roadmap for today. First, we'll look at this new coffee destination. Then, we'll break down Mission Coffees of Nagaland. After that, we'll explore how this is fueling a real economic transformation, followed by how it's protecting the local hill ecology. And finally, we'll look at the road ahead to 2047. All right, Section 1. A new coffee destination, going from total obscurity to global specialty. Let's start with the sheer scale of this thing, because it is wild. Nagaland isn't just trying to grow your average run-of-the-mill coffee. They are actively positioning themselves to compete on a global specialty stage. They're prioritizing unique, complex flavor profiles over just massive industrialized volume. And look at this, an almost six-fold jump in production in literally just 4 years. They went from just over 12 metric tons back in 2020-2021, skyrocketing to nearly 73 metric tons by 2024-2025. But what's truly incredible here is the human engine driving it. Try to picture this. We're talking about over 9,500 small growers, individual families tending to tiny half-hectare plots on steep hill slopes, collectively moving the needle on a massive global scale. Now, the Kohima district is currently leading the charge, pulling in over 29 metric tons. But this growth isn't just isolated to one lucky pocket. Cultivation is successfully taking root all across multiple districts in the state, like Chwensang and Zunabodho, with other regions collectively adding over 28 metric tons to the state's total. And you know, this statewide awakening is actually a brilliant long-term strategy. By spreading their production across all these different microclimates and elevations, they're building a natural resilience against localized weather issues. It basically ensures a stable, growing supply year after year. Moving right along to Section 2, Mission Coffees of Nagaland, and the strategic vision behind all this. Because honestly, this staggering growth we just looked at, it's no accident. It is the direct result of some highly targeted, very coordinated government initiatives. Recognizing they had a unique geographical advantage, the state decided to build a whole ecosystem around it, with a massive 175 crore rupee outlay. And this goes way beyond just handing out seeds. We're talking funding for high-tech nurseries to ensure quality plants, building 9 modern washing stations and roasteries to add value right there at the farm gate, and pushing this massive single-origin branding campaign called Coffees of Nagaland Taste of Eminence. Plus, think about the tourism angle. Imagine sipping a perfectly roasted Arabica right on the very farm where it was grown. That's exactly the kind of experiential farm-stay tourism they're actively building. To make absolutely sure this massive investment pays off, they're using a highly focused cluster-based approach. So instead of spreading their resources way too thin across the entire state, they are building concentrated centers of excellence. By focusing on specialized pilot hubs like Tufama Village for Arabica and Gotovi Village for Robusta, they're basically creating living, breathing classrooms. Small farmers in these clusters can collectively benefit from shared infrastructure and technical support, which creates this scalable blueprint that can actually be replicated across the entire Northeast region.
Next up, Section 3, Fueling the Economic Transformation and Empowering Farmers and Youth.
Let's shift to the human element here and look at how this builds a localized economy. Because at the end of the day, beyond the big government plans, it's the farmers who are the real engine of this revolution. The absolute game changer for them is a 50% subsidy for cultivating high-value crops like Arabica coffee. Think about it. Switching your main crop is incredibly risky for a small tribal farmer who relies on that land just to survive. So a 50% subsidy acts as this massive safety net. It removes the fear of failure and incentivizes the leap to high-value farming. Plus, the government is throwing in free Organic Participatory Guarantee System, or PGS, certification support, which dramatically lowers the financial barrier to entry.
And this is where the story gets really, really exciting, triggering what you might actually call a massive brain gain. Young Naga entrepreneurs, many of whom studied or worked abroad, are realizing that the opportunity back home is finally lucrative enough, and they are returning. They're capitalizing on these exact subsidies to launch their own specialty brands, set up local roasting facilities, and open these sleek, modern cafes in places like Dimapur and Kohima. These homegrown brands with distinct local identities are now selling all across India, and they're even exporting highly sought-after green coffee beans to super competitive markets in Europe and the Middle East.
Just listen to this quote from Siren Yanthan, a 32-year-old entrepreneur who co-owns a local farm and coffee house. He says, "We partner with more than 100 farmers to create a genuine farm-to-cup ecosystem." That phrase right there, genuine farm-to-cup, is just so powerful. When you buy this coffee, you aren't paying a whole chain of giant corporate middlemen. You are directly funding the local businesses and the 100 small farmers who actually grew the beans. It essentially ensures that the wealth generated by the coffee doesn't just evaporate and leave the state. It stays right there to completely revitalize the local community.
That brings us to Section 4, protecting the hill ecology through a sustainable shift.
So, beyond the economics, this agricultural shift is scoring a massive, and I mean massive, ecological win for the region. In fact, environmental sustainability is one of the primary drivers behind this entire government push. For generations, the traditional Jhum, or slash-and-burn cultivation, involved clearing native forests and burning the vegetation, and unfortunately, that inevitably led to severe soil degradation and rampant deforestation. It was really taking a toll on the hillsides. But these new coffee plantations, they're shade-grown. They literally require a healthy, intact forest canopy to thrive. By shifting to coffee, farmers are naturally incentivized to protect the trees, creating this miraculous ecological rescue that actually conserves the fragile hill ecology of Nagaland. And because this coffee is grown naturally under that preserved forest canopy at these high altitudes of 1,000 to 1,500 meters, it is essentially organic by default. It thrives beautifully without the need for synthetic chemical fertilizers. Just think about how much more you pay for certified organic products at the grocery store. Nagaland basically has this massive premium built right in, simply by relying on their natural, untouched ecosystem. This not only preserves the ancient soil, but it perfectly matches the booming global consumer demand for chemical-free, traceable, and sustainable morning brew.
Finally, Section 5, the road to 2047 and the vision for the future. As we step back and look at the big picture, let's explore what the future actually holds for this ambitious socioeconomic transformation. Because the numbers we're looking at right now are literally just the beginning. The data here is absolutely mind-blowing. Right now, Nagaland has just over 11,600 hectares under coffee cultivation. But get this, GIS data reveals that over 1 million hectares, which is more than 60% of the entire state's geographical area, is highly suitable for coffee. So they have achieved all this incredible current success using just over 1% of their potential land. It's like a sleeping giant waking up. Recognizing this immense capacity, the state has set a massive, visionary target of reaching 50,000 hectares by the year 2047.
This timeline perfectly shows that relentless, methodical progression. Look at how it unfolds. Back in 2014, the initial, somewhat modest revival efforts began. Fast forward to 2021, and production officially hits a milestone of 12.16 metric tons. Then, coming up in 2026, the massive, multi-crore Mission Coffees of Nagaland is set to officially launch. All of this is paving a very deliberate path toward 2047, where that grand target of 50,000 hectares is finally reached. It is just a brilliant long-term play to completely redefine the state's agricultural identity over the course of 3 decades. However, as with anything this ambitious, there's a reality check. Despite the massive geographical potential, all that contagious enthusiasm from young returning entrepreneurs, and the booming private enterprise we've tracked today, there is a crucial reality to acknowledge for this 2047 vision.
The ultimate success of this entire initiative relies heavily on continuous long-term funding, steady policy execution, and unwavering administrative support to ensure this incredible momentum isn't lost over the coming decades.
And that brings us to the end of our analysis. Will the mist-covered hells of Nagaland truly become the world's next premier destination for single-origin specialty coffee? Well, they clearly have the passion, the perfect high-altitude ecology, and the community buy-in for sure. But we must explicitly state that the final decision is based on the government when it comes to maintaining that crucial long-term support. I'll leave you with that provocative thought to ponder. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Make sure your subtitles stay on for our next one and keep exploring.